All right, RB, we are here. It is Phoenix week, one of my favorite weeks of the year. We got a ton to talk about, man. I think we should probably look backwards first. So apologies for the recap haters, but there's a lot of that's my YouTube playing in the background of of this exact show. Um, Dude, give me your thoughts on Pebble. I watched a ton of golf this last
Mhm.
weekend. Probably the tournament that I've sat down and actually watched the most of all year. What were some of your macro takeaways from the week that was on the PGA Tour and Rory's victory?
Yeah, always love primetime golf in Monterey. That does not get old. Um, very happy for Rory. A little surprised that he won at Pebble. Can't say it's a perfect golf course for him, but he was incredible. Really across the board. He just didn't seem to make any mistakes. He drove it pretty well. Irons were solid, putted really well. Um, I felt like the leaderboard was a very pebbly leaderboard. Lots of Euros, lots of ball strikers, not really bombers. You know, you got your Lucas Glovers and your Justin Roses and your Russell Henleys and Straka and Lowry.
Shane.
It just felt like a pebble leaderboard, quite frankly. So, and obviously great to have Scotty back. That certainly added, quite a bit of, he's still the borderline favorite, even though he's 6 shots back.
Okay, first, I have one or two things to say on the golf course. We're not going to do the coverage, pace of play stuff. I think we're kind of all in agreement there. I would rather spend that time breaking down the Phoenix DraftKings slate. I think that's probably more of a value add to the listeners on a DFS show. So I think we're probably aligned on like all of the things that could be better with PGA Tour golf, and we don't need to be the 18th podcast to spend more airtime talking about those things. Let's do Rory real quick.
Yeah.
Does this change your opinion on Rory at all as it pertains to his major chances in 2025? What does this win do for you?
Yeah, I think it does a little bit because again, it's not a golf course or necessarily a time of year where we've seen him win on the PGA Tour. Obviously, he wins over in the Middle East all the time this time of year, but really encouraging to see it here. I will say that. I just felt like he was really in control all weekend. He just didn't make any mistakes. So yes, I'm bullish on Rory.
At the majors.
Yes. I kind of always have been, but yes, absolutely.
And if you had to pick one major that you were most bullish on Rory at for 2025, which would it be?
I mean,
Quail.
Hard not to pick Quail.
Yeah. But Quail's a very different golf course than Pebble. So I think the strategy that he took at Pebble is not necessarily going to be applicable to Quail. I mean, the way that you play Pebble and the way that you play Quail are very different stylistically. I think the 14th hole at Pebble is a bit of a red herring on how Rory was able to strategically navigate this golf course. Yeah, there's one hole at Pebble where Rory can just absolutely dial back and gain a tremendous advantage with his distance. There's like one shot on the entire golf course that Rory can pull off at Pebble Beach that maybe not a single other player in the entire field at Pebble Beach can do. But again, that is a big red herring on like what we saw out of Rory McIlroy strategically and stylistically this week. You have to remember about Pebble Beach. It has one of the lowest driver usage percentages on the PGA Tour. And I saw that in a lot of the golf that I was watching. I mean, Rory did not hit a tremendous amount of drivers. A lot of the par fours on the front nine are not necessarily driver holes. A lot of the par fours on the back nine are not necessarily driver holes as well. He was excellent at controlling his distance with his wedges and short irons. And that's kind of the thing that we talked about all week at Pebble Beach was like the theme of the week for us. The reason why we were so high on Henley and Lowry and guys like Tom Hoge as well to a certain extent was Pebble Beach is all about controlling your distance into small firm targets. And when I think about Rory McIlroy, I don't necessarily think about that as the biggest strength of his game. So I thought it was incredibly encouraging to see him play this way stylistically and still have this amount of success. I would pump the brakes on some of the major stuff. I mean, this, in my opinion, virtually changes nothing in terms of how I feel about Rory going forward in the majors, but I was already in the camp that Rory is live at every single one of them. I don't think that he's going to have to play this way at the majors in 2025 that he played at Pebble Beach. Yet in some ways, you could probably make the argument that that makes what he did at Pebble Beach for this given week that much more impressive.
Yeah, I think so. And I think one of the characteristics of Pebble, like you mentioned, sort of not a lot of drivers, even on the par fives, but the par fives are so easy. Like they're almost auto birdies if you're in the fairway off the tee. Like, I mean, how do you not birdie 2 and 6 if you're in the fairway? Even 18 is really pretty straightforward. I think that really helps his floor, right? Because he's going to make at least 2, probably 3 birdies on those 4 par fives every single day. And when conditions are tough, it really raises his floor on golf courses like this.
And we would be remiss not to mention a huge shout out to our guy, Kobe, my co-host of the Wednesday premium show, the fastest growing golf show in the industry. Some would say is that completely off the rails and unhinged Wednesday premium show, the only YouTube show that we put behind the paywall here. And we specifically do that for a reason. NBC Sportsbet did not properly credit Kobe on winning $130,000. And we take a lot of issue with that. I actually tweeted or Instagram commented back at NBC Sports saying, hey, when you guys are ready to credit Kobe Dubose, like we posted all over ISN, that he was in fact the one that hit Rory McIlroy for 130K, let us know. We're willing to come to the table. But give us, I have a couple more takeaways from Pebble. I like to kind of recap the good and the bad, right? And so let me give you a bad, because obviously we can wax poetically about how on the money we were with Henley and Lowry. I mean, those guys in my single entry single-handedly carried me to another top 20 finish in the $100 single entry. And now I'm like, after a rough 3 weeks, like I've now 3x'd my money in DraftKings 2 weeks in a row. And I'm starting to feel it again. Like I've gotten back to my roots. I feel like I'm starting to see the board clearly. A big L hand up that I will take, however, and I touched on this on the Sunday show, I feel like I've been overrating the range of the board in between Scottie Scheffler and 35-1. So last week, every single person on the internet, myself included, bet 1, if not 2, of Justin Thomas, Ludwig Aubert, Patrick Cantlay, Colin Morikawa, Hideki Matsuyama. Not a single one of those players finished top 15.
Yep.
And that doesn't mean that I'm not bullish on those guys going forward. I still think, gun to my head, all of those players win a PGA Tour event. But I think I've almost underestimated, particularly from a DFS standpoint, that those players, like, they have a way lower floor than I feel like I like to give them credit for. And I think every single one of those guys are like just as likely to finish 40th out of 80 in any signature event as they are to finish top 5. Do you think I'm being hyperbolic and reactionary to a very bad week for that range? Or are you not sounding the alarm bells as much as I am yet on that group of Morikawa, JT, Cantlay, etc.?
So my only gripe, I think Morikawa has a higher floor than the others. I'll say that.
Yeah.
I think he's one tier above, and I am still willing to give Ludwig the benefit of the doubt for being sick. But yeah, with Matsuyama, Thomas, and Cantlay, yes, they could finish last any week, especially in these small signature fields. There's no doubt about that.
What do you think's going on with JT? Because that was a really bad mistake for me last week. And I was able to overcome it with Lowry and Henley being so good for me. I didn't play JT in DFS, but I lost like basically almost 2 units last week on a JT top 10 and a healthy investment on his outright number at 14-1.
Yeah.
I understand the reason why I did it. Like, there were some serious signs from his putter. He has been putting better this week, this year. He putted okay last week at Pebble, but it just feels like there's always one step forward, two step backwards with Justin Thomas. How are you feeling on him this last week and going ahead? Because he's the second favorite on the odds board again this week at 14-1.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, I full faded him last week. I was, it was mostly due to the putting, but like I want Justin Thomas on Bermuda.
Yeah,
usually,
or overseeded Bermuda, right?
Yeah,
he's putted well at Phoenix.
I think it's perfect for him. Yes, I think when you look at those overseeds as well, and I think he needs a bigger golf course. Like, he's not the longest hitter, but I just he tends to do better on those longer golf courses. He's not a POA guy. He's never gained strokes putting at Pebble in any of the rounds that he's played there. So that was just a big no for me, especially with how popular he was. I don't think anything's wrong with him, though.
Yeah, Brian, I think that's fair. I'm probably being a little bit hard on him, more so hard on myself for making that big of an investment as I did last week in the outright number and having it fall so flat. I will say about this week, though, TPC Scottsdale is a golf course where I do believe that you can gain a significant advantage off the tee. I think it's a really good golf course to be like above average with both distance and accuracy, right?
Yep.
And I don't really trust Justin Thomas's driver at all. And I think one of the things that's interesting about TPC Scottsdale is it's really a golf course where you can win three ways. And I think that's why it's such a fun event. And that's why it's so enticing to me from a betting and DFS standpoint, is that like, if you want to make an argument that a player can yield a significant advantage with their driver at TPC Scottsdale and finish top 10 this week on the back alone of elite driving, you can statistically make that case. If you want to make the case that somebody is just going to absolutely black out from 150 to 200 yards with his irons and finish top 10, you can statistically make that case. You have almost 50% of your approach shots coming from 150 to 200 yards. And if you want to make the case that you can win TPC Scottsdale solely on the back of blacking out on these greens, Nick Taylor and Charlie Hoffman finished first and second last year, ranking first and second in strokes gained putting. You can also make that case. It's not a putting contest, but there will 100% be a guy in the top 5 this year that we do not think of an elite ball striker that is leading the field in strokes gained putting. My problem with Justin Thomas this week at Scottsdale is I think he's eliminating 2 of those 3 ways off the bat. He's not winning this tournament with his driver, and he's not winning this tournament with his putter. So unless JT goes super nuclear with his irons, which is very much a possibility, he's still hitting his irons great. I think it's a full fade for me this week at 10.5, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, price is tough, especially if you're Scotty. Can't bet him at 12-1 or whatever he is.
Yeah, and if you got a 25-1 on him, great.
Future, awesome. Great. Yeah, awesome. Sure. I would take 25-1 as well.
Sure. Great.
But yeah, I mean, what I did
let's just do the Twitter thing and forget about all the terrible futures that you've also and just talk about the one good one. Like, you're the smartest guy in the room for sure. Yeah. But 25-1 on JT, like, tip the cap. I'd bet that too right now.
Yeah. My only pushback, and again, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, yeah, I guess on principle, I'd bet JT 25-1 here. Like, I just don't love him this week anyway. So whatever.
Yeah. So since his first really good appearance here in 2019, where he finished third, obviously he's gone third, 13th, 8th, 4th, 12th, whatever, but he's gained off the tee all 6 events, and he's gained in driving distance all 6 events pretty significantly. So I think that tells me, guys are clubbing down a little bit. He's either more comfortable hitting driver here, right? But he's done better.
It's a very good pushback.
Yeah, he's done better off the tee here than I imagined. So he'll probably finish 4th or 5th this week. It's just I'm not going to bet him at that sort of number with Scotty in the field. It's not.
No, that's totally fair. He's not driving the ball well at all right now, in my opinion. I don't like his driving numbers, but if you look at how he's driven the ball well at this golf course specifically, he's driven the ball great here. I don't know if he's that guy right now, but if you're looking for a pro case on JT, you can say, well, look at his driving numbers at TPC Scottsdale. He seems to figure out a strategy here, and yeah, I mean, I we'll see on him as it pertains to DraftKings, because actually, let's do Scotty in 1 second. Do you have anything else on the golf course that that you want to touch on? Because I have one take on the golf course and the golf course conditions this week.
No, not really. I think it's, just definitely more of a traditional TPC course. Iron play, I think, at a premium. You can get hot with the putter. I think around the green possibly matters a little more than people want to admit here.
I can get down with that.
Yeah, but no, that's really about it.
Yeah, this is like a golf course that we have 25 years of data on with virtually no weather. Like the weather is essentially the same here every single year. Last year, it was a little bit cold on Thursday, and then it basically turned into completely normal Phoenix conditions for this year. I'm going to I think this is like one of the worst golf courses on the PGA Tour to really try and talk yourself into like gaining some sort of strategic advantage by talking about the weather or going there in person to talk about the golf course conditions. Like, this is truly a golf course that we have 25 years of data on, played in a dome in Scottsdale, Arizona. Do not let anyone gaslight you into thinking otherwise. The thing that I would say about TPC Scottsdale from a bird's eye view is one thing I noticed when diving into my research, and this is props specific content for my guy. There's one guy in the Discord that DMs me specifically every week and is like, give us, like, I want more talk on single round props. Which, like, dude, we have 400 messages per day on that type of stuff, like with Steve at Pebble Beach doing that. So, on one hand, it's like, we got you covered, man. On the other hand, I agree. That's a market that we've been able to gain probably more of an edge on at ISN than most other things, in terms of like, what's the one thing that we pride ourselves on? Being able to predict the scoring average, being able to understand how a golf course is going to play. One thing I would tell you about this golf course is, over the last 5 years, the scoring average in round one has played on average a stroke harder than the other 3 rounds. So it usually starts a little bit tougher for whatever reason, and then eases up over the week as guys get more reps on the golf course. So if you're looking for a little niche micro take on scoring this week, I would maybe look at targeting overs in round one. And then I would expect, but to be honest with you, Ryan, 22, 23 under this week. Okay. I would expect it to be maybe a touch easier than last year, because you're not going to get that cold, wet morning on Thursday. It's between 17 and 21 under here every single year for the last 5 years. And I think if I'm giving a quote unquote bold prediction, it's that maybe this is the easiest Scottsdale year that we've seen in a couple of years. Maybe I could see us getting to 22, 23 under par, because the weather is pretty perfect. 5 mile per hour gusts all week, dome golf.
I think so. One thing I noticed, and I probably should have noticed this last week. I don't know if you use the Data Golf course fit tool very much. It was very heavily skewed towards like driving distance forever, right? Like you would go to a Bombers course and like Chris Goddard would be number 1, something like that. So it appears they've made adjustments in it, because it is definitely more accuracy short game this week. And the number 1 strokes gain adjustment is Scottie Scheffler.
Yeah, not to throw a massive challenge flag. There's a lot of lack of contextual noise in the DG course fit model.
Well, so I agree. I felt like there was, and it was almost unusable. It appears that it is now usable because the top 5 in their adjustment this week are Scotty, Sungjae, Sepp, Tom Kim, and Sam Burns. So
where's Kitayama though?
Yeah, not great. But yeah, like because I felt the same way. I felt it was pretty unusable because it was so heavily skewed towards driving distance. But it's something to monitor because I think they've made some adjustments here. But Scotty number 1 by a mile. So
okay, so we're going to play a fun game here, and I would like the chat to get involved. You can say in the chat who you think, because the chat will be the jury for this, right? The chat will be the decider of who makes the better case. But in the spirit of our own resident lawyer winning $130,000 last week on Rory McIlroy, we're gonna step into the courtroom and give the pro con case for Scottie Scheffler this week in DFS. So in my opinion, RB, I haven't run ownership yet, but Scottie Scheffler could near 50% this week. So, you know, it's just a decision, and where you go in that decision is going to dictate how how you build the rest of your lineup. Do you want to be, and I think anybody, it is a massive red flag if anyone is like to you, play Scotty free square. That's the easiest thing on the board. And it's also just to play the devil's advocate case. I also would throw up a challenge flag in terms of saying that, like, you cannot win a lot of money in DraftKings this week while deploying a 50% Scottie Scheffler in your lineup. Okay. There's many ways to win. And I have a lot of examples at this from like the Houston Open last year and RBC Heritage, where 2 of my best DraftKings weeks of the entire season, where I faded a 50% Scottie Scheffler fully and he won and finished first and second that week. And I just built better lineups without him. Do you want to be the pro Scheffler case or the con Scheffler case?
Pro.
Yeah. Probably an easier case to make. Okay, lead us off. In terms of a lineup building standpoint, in terms of a Scotty course fit standpoint, what's the and let's just say for argument's sake, Scott, let's say Scotty's going to be somewhere between 40 and 50% owned this week. Does that track for you?
I don't think he'll get that high just because people will still love Justin Thomas. Like, I think you're going to get a lot of people who jam like a JT Hideki or JT Burns lineup, and obviously can't get Scotty with them. But yes, he is going to be higher, even with the price increase. He's going to be higher than we've seen. So I think 40%, maybe 38% is probably about right.
Okay. Well, you know what? I haven't run ownership yet. I do my first ownership run through on Tuesday afternoon. It's way too early for that. Let's settle on 40%. What's the pro case for playing Scottie Scheffler at 40% this week?
Yeah, so there is still a cut, right? So I think you're also looking for the high floor. And like we just talked about, there's no floor with Justin Thomas, Hideki Matsuyama, Sam Burns, Sung J.M., Corey Connors. Like, there's no floor there, right? I also think just the way pricing looks so far, all the value seems to be in the 7K range. It's a massive 7K range. And if you click Scotty, that's kind of where you're going, right? You can maybe get one 8K guy in, maybe one 9K guy, but you're pretty much jamming that range. And I think I feel very good about a lot of plays there, and they don't even need to be popular plays. Like, there are 40 guys for you to choose from. On top of that, I think we saw everything we needed to see last week about the injury. We've seen everything we need to see from him on the course fit here. And then if you want to get really granular, like, all the shots on this golf course are between 150 and 200 yards. He is the best from 150 to 175 and 175 to 200. Not really much of a surprise there. So I am all in on Scotty this week.
I'm going to show you right now why I am not a lawyer. Although it was a career path that I greatly considered at one point in my life, because as Brian and Kyle in the chat knows, nobody loves a good argument like me. Yeah. The one thing that I would add to the pro Scotty case, even though am I the defense or the prosecution? in
You
this
should
argument.
probably be the prosecution because
I'm probably the prosecution.
Yeah.
So despite being the prosecution, I'm going to add one more key defense case that I just want to make sure that we touch on. I think these are some of the best greens on the PGA Tour for Scottie Scheffler. Last week at Pebble, he actually putted better than I expected, but Scotty's putted really well at TPC Scottsdale. And of all the surfaces that Scotty plays on, there's kind of like the big 4 main ones or 5 main ones: POA, bent grass, non-overseeded Bermuda. So like Florida golf courses, Arnold Palmer Invitational, and then overseeded Bermuda, which is like TPC Scottsdale, TPC Sawgrass, Harbor Town. Overseeded Bermuda, and this tracks also because it's generally the easiest surface to putt on for anyone. But overseed, like Scotty over the last 3 years on overseeded Bermuda ranks like 35th out of 130 guys in this field. Like Scotty has been an above average putter on overseeded Bermuda over the last 3 years, including winning Scottsdale twice, winning TPC Sawgrass twice, winning Harbor Town last year. So if there's any golf course where you could actually make the argument of like, oh, Scotty, like, I don't think he's going to hemorrhage 6 or 7 strokes putting this week. Like Scotty may actually gain strokes putting and use his putter as not necessarily an advantage, but I don't see the possibility last week at Pebble Beach where it's like if things could go horribly wrong and Scotty loses his confidence on POA, or a golf course like Torrey Pines where they're really difficult greens and lag putting super important. And the greens are really fast. And you saw at a place like Pinehurst how Scotty got really tripped up on the greens. I don't think that's in the equation this week. I mean, he could still just miss a bunch of 5 to 10 footers and lose a bunch of strokes putting, but this is one of his better putting courses on the PGA Tour, which I think increases his floor even higher. So I would add that to the defense. I'll give you the main prosecution argument for Scotty, and it's flimsy-ish. Like, you guys know about me if you've been listening to my stuff for a long enough time. If there's an argument to fade Scottie Scheffler, I will make that argument. Like I am very much, this is game theory, golf course dependent on Scottie Scheffler. And if you have an opportunity to fade a player at this ownership and then at this price point, you should at least entertain what that looks like. And I guess the case for fading Scottie Scheffler this week would be kind of the same case when I faded him at Heritage, and even more specifically the Houston Open, because the Houston Open was a golf course with a cut. Is that if you build Scottie Scheffler 12K, 50%, you have $7,600, I believe, in your lineups for the other 5 spots. And you are most likely going to need at least 4 guys in the 7K range or below to make a cut for you. Now, finding 4 guys in the 7K range to make a cut for you, it's not always an easy task in PGA DFS, as many people know. Okay. It's not a no cut event like Harbor Town where every single player is guaranteed 4 rounds. So essentially what you're doing by playing Scottie Scheffler is you are removing the ability to play a lineup with like 3 guys in the 9K range. Okay. You're eliminating the possibility to like build this mega balanced lineups of, Burns, Sungjae, Connors, Tom Kim, Kitayama, Mav McNeely, and Jam, a bunch of those guys in the same lineup. And that's how I won all that money in Houston that week, is like I built this super balanced lineup where I was like all over Finau, Jaeger, and Akshay. And like Akshay at 7.9K in Houston was my 5th man in. And so like I built this 6 of 6 that was super balanced with a bunch of guys that finished top 20. I wouldn't count on that. It takes a lot, it takes a lot of work to do. And again, back arguing for your case, RB, I just don't think that the 9 and 8K range is that freaking sure of a thing. And that's probably the reason why I would play Scotty this week, is like, to fade him, I would need to feel mega fucking good about the non-Scotty lineups that I could build from a balance perspective and be like, Hojgaard slam, Straka slam, Sahith Slam. All these guys that I want to fit into a lineup that I couldn't play with Scottie Scheffler, I would need to feel really good about those guys. And I did that week in Houston. I do not this week.
Does
that make sense? Does that make sense the way that I
I guess part of it. Yeah, I think part of it too is that I just don't love the 8K guys as much. Like if I gave you, in terms of just sort of what you're describing, made cut equity, if I gave you Cameron Young, Luke Clanton, and JT Poston, are they that much better than like Tom Hoagie, Daniel Berger, and Andrew Novak? I don't think so. Like, I think it's very comparable with those two ranges. So yeah, it's impossible for me not to play Scotty here. I got to get creative. That's for sure.
Is there an argument for fading him in single entry? Because what if he's 60% in single entry? And I ask this because single entry has been my most successful way to consistently win money at DFS over the years. Like back-to-back top 20s in the $100 single entry. That contest is my fucking shit. Like I'm trying to win the $100 single entry every single week. And most weeks I'm giving it a luck.
Yeah.
Is there a case to fade Scotty in single entry?
I guess it's like, I mean, if there was a difference between him and JT, let's say, if they were projected 10, 12, 15 points different, big argument. He's projected 30 points more than Justin Thomas. It's like, I think with raw points, it's like playing NFL Showdown, right? Like there is always argument to fade Lamar Jackson, if he's 80% owned. But in terms of raw points, I just feel like you're going to need that more times than not. So
STT Sports Network asks, in a 20 max versus single entry, what's the max ownership on Scotty that scares you away? Do you have an answer for that?
I really don't. Like in the 20 max, like if you want to quote unquote fade Scotty, like, I mean, play 3 to 5 Scotty lineups and fade on the other ones. Like, I just feel like you're doing yourself a big disservice to have 0 Scotty. If you want to be underweight, be underweight. But I don't see an argument for like a full fade. No.
Yeah, I guess being field on Scotty is a bailout. But in my opinion, like whenever I play Scotty, and I played Scotty 100% in Phoenix last year, there are a couple times every year where I play Scotty 80 to 100%, and then a bunch of times where I fade him entirely. When I play Scotty, I still like try to be double the field for whatever it's worth. So I'm telling you right now, if I play Scotty, and obviously those decisions will be made in the Discord and the Wednesday premium show, I'm probably going to play him in every single lineup or 80% of lineups if he's 40%. Yeah. And if he's 60% in single entry, I think I would still play him, mainly because we're going to talk about guys in the 7 and 8K range that I think are like, I don't know. I'll tell you this right now, RB, and it's Monday. So a lot of things can change, and that's the importance of the Discord. This is really our just first look show. As it stands right now, I am leaning towards a build of a player pool of Scotty, Tom Kim, Kirk Kitayama, Mav McNeely, fading every single other player above 8.5K.
I like it. I'll be pretty similar. I would, I bet Sam Burns, so I would probably throw him in there. But again, I'm probably only going to get to Sam Burns if I feel comfortable with the Scotty Burns lineup. And I can't guarantee that'll be the case.
How much money does that leave you? Like 6.9?
You would need 2.6K with that lineup. Yes.
Ben, I agree with you in the chat. I get the course dependent argument with being to fade, but then this doesn't even seem the course. I agree. I would argue that this is one of the best golf courses on the PGA Tour for Scottie Scheffler. So is Burns your favorite non-Scheffler player above 8.5?
Yes.
And what's the pro Burns outright case? Because I have a lot of room on my outright card, and Burns I haven't crossed off yet.
So, I mean, the main issue with Sam Burns, just in general, and why I don't bet him that much is
I think he's a good one and done play as well, by the way.
It's the iron play, right? Like he's never
terrible.
He never goes nuclear really bad with the iron. Yes, but he did have a really good end of the year. He was elite in the play all throughout the playoffs with his iron play. It was awesome. We know he's one of the best putters. I think he's going to love the overseeded Bermuda surfaces. He's putted really well here the last couple of years. Obviously, was third and sixth. Played really solidly last week at Pebble. Probably not a great golf course for him since the driver's neutralized and iron play is really important, and it's not Bermuda. He was still sort of borderline top 20 all week. I just think the number, like he was as deep as 28. I ended up betting him in the market without Scotty because I'm a big
So you're
sissy,
betting the without Scotty market?
Only for Burns. Only for Burns.
What's the case there? Because the way that I look at it is like at this point, just flood the zone, man. Like,
because it just wasn't a big enough gap. Like when I looked this morning, so I got up early and I bet it on FanDuel this morning. It was 25 with Scotty, 22 without. Like I just felt like that gap was very negligible. Like if you're talking 28 versus 20, yeah, like 28 versus 20, yeah, just give me the 28 and I hope he beats him. But yeah, he's the only guy that I bet in that market. So that was just me being a sissy.
I bet Tom Kim 45 to 1 over the weekend at Pebble before he really started to get it going at Pebble. You know, I gave that play out to the Discord over the weekend, talked about it in my Sunday show. As expected, that number is, I think, now in the 30s. I think there were 40s still available this morning. I thought it was just a pure number grab for me. And my numbers low-key like Tom Kim this week, like better than Connor, Sung Jae. Burns is right in that mix, Hideki, JT. I think the pro case for Tom Kim, in my opinion, and why I would play, like if I played 80% Scottie Scheffler this week, the 20% of non-Scheffler lineups that I would build would probably be a Tom Kim, Kitayama, Mav start. And then I would play a bunch of Scheffler, Tom Kim together, which leaves you 7.1K. And I think is just enough room to feel comfortable at. But Tom Kim, I love the way he's playing right now. Like looked really great to me at Pebble. Made a couple of stupid mistakes. He's played well at Phoenix in the past. I think there's a great golf course for him. He's played incredibly well in the desert. He's hitting his irons super well. I do think he is the type of player, and I don't know if I could say this necessarily about like Corey Connors or Sahith Theegala. I do think those three roadmaps exist for Tom Kim. I think he does have a lot of putting upside. I think he does have a lot of approach upside. And he's not the longest driver of the ball in the world, but he's very accurate still too. And you can still gain a tremendous amount of strokes off the tee at this golf course, just medium length and straight every time. Because the one thing that you can't do on this golf course off the tee is avoid the massive miss. And Tom Kim avoids the massive miss pretty damn well.
I like it. He's my placeholder right now for one and done. Don't know if we'll stay there or not, but certainly considered him. I know he contended last week. It never felt like he was going to win. I don't know if you felt that way at all. It just never felt that way.
Agreed.
So, and like he's won multiple times, of course. I have to see it in a better field. Like when he was close at the Open, it was kind of backdoor, bad weather. This is a dome game, kind of a birdie fest, like going against Scotty and JT and Burns and these guys. Like, I don't know if the winning upside is there, but a top 10, seems very likely for him this week.
Rapid fire, because we got to move down.
Yep.
Is Hideki trending in the wrong direction?
No, I think you made this point last week, though. Playing a lot of golf. Which for him isn't necessarily a bad thing historically because it means that he's healthy. But I think you saw it last week where he just hit some really bad shots and then he kind of quit on Sunday. But just playing a lot of golf, but obviously has very good course history here, at least a while ago, and wouldn't be shocked to see him bounce back. But bullish on him in 2025, just not there this week.
Okay, 5 guys: Sahith, Straka, Hojgaard, Benyon, Bobby Mack. All those guys are between 9.5 and 9K. Principle suggests that one of those guys is going to smash.
Yeah.
All of them, in my opinion, are going to be under 15% owned. Who is the smash play? that Kobe and Rishi come on here on Wednesday night and tell us are going to win them all the money between 9 and 9.5K. Because I think if you get one of those 5 guys right, you could be sitting very pretty. I don't like any of them. I love the guys at 8.9.
I know who they're going to pick. I know they're going to pick Rasmus. I don't think it's him. I will take Benny on. I think the Benny on pendulum has flipped entirely too quickly the wrong way. Played pretty solidly last week, tied for 22nd, but like everyone was lining up to bet this at like 30-1 at Sony, and everyone bet him at Century, where he played fine. I think this is a very good golf course for him. He has good history prior to 2021. I think he's going to be incredibly low owned, probably single digits, honestly, because like with Sahith, he gets the course history bump. Everyone's on Straka right now. So yeah, Benny on for me is a great GPP play there.
Dave says Rasmuth, shout out. My best friend in the chat here, Jack Topham, popping in from his Morgan Stanley day job in New York. Miss you, buddy. Good to see you.
Beautiful.
If I had to pick one of those 5, I think I'd pick Hojgaard. I think I'm with Dave. Mm-hmm. I don't particularly like any of the 5. I think Straka might be heading a little bit in the wrong direction, and this is a good sell point on Straka, but I also didn't play him last week, and I should have. And that leads us to Kitayama and Mav. I bet both of them.
Same.
I talked about both of them fairly extensively on my Sunday show. So I'm not going to spend a tremendous amount of time pumping up Kitayama and Mav. Is there a con case here? And like, is Kitayama and Mav just an ISN bubble thing, or are we going to have to start worrying about ownership here?
I don't think you're going to have to worry too much on Mav. I do think Kitayama is going to be the belle of the ball this week. He seems
Kyle,
to be
does Data Golf love Kitayama? Because Data Golf usually loves Kitayama.
No, they don't love anybody in that range. It's basically Scotty and 7K guys is going to be all of their optimal lineup. So I think you're going to see a lot of that. So
that's kind of what I'm doing, though.
but I mean, Kitayama is going to be on a lot of betting cards. I've seen him top 5 in a lot of models. Yours, I think Steve's, maybe Newman's on BetSpurs. Like he's just up there. I love him as well. Putts really well here, plays really well here. He went to UNLV, so you have the desert thing going on.
Desert guy.
And at Farmers, and like hopefully the Farmers thing, he shot like 80 on the North Course on Friday or on Thursday, I guess it was, when he got blown off, but just had an awesome round the first day at the South Course. So it's a perfect spot for him. Yeah.
Okay, let's move a little bit farther down. 8Ks.
Yep.
Okay, talk me through Spieth through Siwoo. Any bangers in this range for you?
I mean, no, I bet Cam Young, but I'm not proud of it.
I don't get that at all. Like what's
happy about it.
Yeah, I got to be honest, like no beef. You've hit 4 more outrights this year than I have. Like you are a phenomenal outright bettor. The results, the proof is in the pudding there. I don't get the Cam Young investment at all this week, but I know Kobe will like him, and sure, maybe he has one of those weeks.
Yeah, I mean, the bet itself was more of a numbers play because I expected like a 45 to 50, and there was an 80 this morning with 6 places. So I think there's a nice safety net there. I mean, he finished 8th at the Century. That was not long ago. I know it was heavy short game and putting, but he has been basically the best driver in the field at this golf course for the last 3 years that he's played here. Was 8th last year, included awesome putting, and he gained on approach. So it's like he can do it on this golf course. We know that he has the talent in there somewhere. And I just felt like 80-1, like he's in that range. He's below like Hoagie, and with like Andrew Novak, like he's a better golfer than them. And he is going to win at some point. And I do not want to miss it, I guess is the best argument there. But yes, a better DK play than a bet. I will say that.
I'm super comfortable missing it on Cam this week. Our generational wealth, mega bomb, whale max, super max of Henley over Greiserman came through for us last week. Absolutely sweat free. Greiserman didn't even make it through the full tournament. I still think the guy is overpriced. That's an easy fade for me. And I will tell you what, in this 8K range, the guys that well, actually, real quick, thoughts on Spieth?
Zero interest.
Agreed.
He was about
last week.
He was about as I expected last week, coming off the injury, and that's a golf course that he loves. So
yeah. And by the way, like there was a little bit of Hovland buzz going around beginning in that tournament. He finished like T22 at 8.8. Like
better than I thought he would finish, quite
for
frankly.
sure. But like I didn't get burned by fading Hovland by any means. I agree with you, Dave. I think Spieth
and then
is
Wyndham
still
Clark did exactly. Yeah, I think
Wyndham Clark
exactly
was a huge miss by me last week, by the way.
Yeah.
I wasn't like insanely heavy on him, but he was in my pool and that was a whiff. I'm going to tell you who I like the best in this range. Poston, Clanton, and Nick Taylor. I don't think Nick Taylor is winning twice in 5 starts or going back to back in Phoenix, but like, why not? Like Taylor's hitting his irons unbelievable. He loves this golf course. You know, even after winning Sony, he backed it up with a 12th at the Amex. I just think he's like a form player heading into a golf course that he's experienced a ton of success at in the past. And I love the way that he's hitting his irons right now. Clanton, I'm not like as heavy as Clanton as Kyle, but I'm still a long-term buyer. I was really hoping he'd be like 7.8 this week. But I still have interest there because I think it's a really good golf course for Luke Clanton. Like he's a really good middle iron player, and Clanton can gain a real significant advantage off the tee at this golf course as well. Like Clanton can dominate here with his driver. Great take, by the way, Deacon, that the real CY is 6.5. We will get there, my man.
We will get there. Yeah. Yeah, don't hate Clanton as a bounce back. Obviously burned a bunch of people at Sony. He played well at Farmers. I think for me, it's in terms of my sort of GPP plays, it would be Cam Young, Nick Taylor, and probably Siwoo Kim over Poston.
Okay.
I like the ups. I think I like the upside a little bit more. He was a very quiet 12th last week at Pebble, and seems to play these sort of TPC courses really well. So
I'm lower on Akshay than consensus too. I think my numbers don't love Akshay for some reason. I thought Akshay should be like 7.7 this week.
I liked him better last week. And he was $1,000 cheaper last week. So
yeah, and he didn't even play that great last week by any means. Okay, talk us through this beefy 7K range. My numbers kind of loved Spawn. Spawn's playing 5 weeks in a row.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot of golf. But big range here. Big range here.
Big range, yeah. So let's start with the top half of this. Let me just look through this real quick. Lots of guys that I don't really play because I don't really play Spawn and Hostler and Davis Thompson. Just macro view, I always thought that Harry Hall would be a better fit here than at Pebble. He burned a lot of people last week, so would be happy to go back there in GPP. Still on the Sam Stevens train. I would go there.
Favorite. I think he could win this week.
Yeah, and then just in terms of
100 to 1 on Bet365. Bet that now.
Yeah, in terms of an upside play, like the only other guy that I would play here is probably Minwoo Lee. He did way better last week than I expected. I think this golf course, this atmosphere, much better for him. And his ball striking was off the charts last week. So yeah, Minwoo Lee and Sam Stevens would definitely be my 2 favorites here.
Devin Davis, Andy, if you really like a player, but your model doesn't like him, which happens all the time, do you manually increase their projection to get them into lineups, or do you just add them by hand once you build lineups? I don't believe in projections, Devin. I hand build everything. And the model is just additional context for me. So I don't build exclusively based on the information in my model. I read my model. I go through every single player in my model. And then it's really complicated. So this is another podcast, but I add a lot of specific context and break them down through different stat categories and then develop a different formula to see how many boxes they're I'm an insane human being, like truly, like not a real person when it comes to this stuff. But to answer your question at a macro level, the model is a guide for me, but I do not blindly just look at the player with the highest grade in my model and play those guys in DraftKings. I will tell you this about the top of the sevens. First of all, I think Billy's underpriced. I worry about ownership there. I mean,
Yeah.
Billy at 7.6. Why isn't Billy and Akshay reversed? Like, why isn't
I think,
Billy
yeah.
and Clanton reversed? Billy at 7.6 kind of feels like a steal, but I would say worry about that ownership because I saw a lot of steam on him already at like 90-1. Pretty good number.
Correct.
Yeah.
I agree. I think he'll be the highest owned, in the upper sevens for sure.
Hell yeah, Devin. Golf is the worst sport for projections. I'll die on that hill. And that's why that's why we have an edge. Is it's like people that win money at football think that they can just know nothing about golf courses and know nothing about weather and know nothing about statistically modeling golf courses and think that they can just blindly plug in projections and win at golf. And I started this company on the foundational ethos that understanding and knowing golf courses matter. So that's the way that I'm going to keep playing.
Yeah. My feeling on it too is like, if I'm willing to bet a guy outright, I don't care what his price is. Like he's going to get in some of my lineups. Like, I think Kitayama's overpriced this week. I bet him. I think he can legitimately win this event. I'm going to play him.
Yeah. Yeah. What's going on with Matt Fitzpatrick these days? We both really like him, but he's playing like ass. I actually still think he's overpriced.
Yeah, probably a little bit. I mean, not to make excuses for him, but he got engaged and got married last year. That's a thing. That's an adjustment. They probably moved. I don't know that for sure. He was down here, but I'm sure they moved. I'm sure he's dealing with life stuff. They're going to be having a kid soon, I imagine, right? Like just stuff happens.
Yeah.
We saw it with Spieth. We saw it with Fowler. We saw it with JT. Like that stuff will happen.
Rank these guys at their current DFS price. Fitz, Minwoo Lee, Dick Fowler, Max Homa. Are you playing any of them?
I would only play Minwoo Lee and Max Homa, I think.
I think you're insane for playing Max Homa.
I won't play Homa, but I would play him before Spieth and Ricky Fowler. But yes.
I think I of that group, I prefer Fowler.
Interesting. Yeah. But yeah,
I mean, he may not even make my pool, but I am not there on Minwoo.
Yeah.
I'm not there on Fitz, and I'm not there on Homa. This range for me, I am all over Slam and Sammy Stevens.
For sure.
Is DT broken? I actually like Davis Thompson a lot on this golf course. He lost 6 strokes on approach at Pebble.
I liked him when he was 150-1 and 6,700. I feel like that win elevated him, and he stayed hot for a while. But I think he's a solid player. I don't think he's like a top 30 player in the world or anything like that. So, and I don't think this is a golf course for him either.
Rank for me because I think these guys are all interesting next week, or they were they were guys that I was monitoring at Pebble. And they played to certain varying levels right at Pebble, but I think are all deserve at least a look this week. Eckroat, Andy Noves, Glover, Hoagie.
That is a tough one. I think surprisingly, my favorite of that bunch is Andrew Novak, and hopefully he's here.
Andy Noves.
Yeah. There was 150-1 was out there still until a couple of days ago. And then I think it dropped to 100 and probably then he was down to 90 or 80 today. But yeah, I really like him. I think in terms of like floor and cash games, like I think Glover and Hoagie are fine. I would probably prefer Hoagie. I think he's a better player than Glover overall. But yeah, like I think that whole range, Hoagie, Glover, Mitchell, Novak, Ben Griffin, Denny, like all these guys are like safe, and you just have to find the one that ends up in 8th place this week.
I'm choosing Hoagie of that group. Can I interest you in a little Daniel Berger? 110 to 1
Probably.
was a bet for me.
Yeah, probably. I think, again, he has good course history back in the day here. I think the green surfaces will be great for him. I'm definitely willing to overlook a miscut at Torrey, a golf course that I really don't like for him, despite the fact that he had played okay there historically. Yeah, he's in the player pool. There's no doubt about it.
Okay, I'm going to give you guys the nuts in the low 7 right now. I don't know if you guys are ready for this. Okay, my plays in the low 7s as of now on Monday. This will obviously change. Ben Griffin, Brian Harmon, Douglas Gim, Cooch, Eric Cole,
Obviously.
and I'm monitoring the Gary Woodland situation. But I would like
we don't have to monitor.
First.
He's in. Yeah, he did what I thought he would do last week. Obviously, he didn't win, but ball striking was elite. Gained in all 4 stroke gain categories, by the way, despite just consistently missing every 8 to 13 foot birdie putt he had over the weekend. He could have finished anywhere from 1st to 40th last week, kind of the way he was playing. But yeah, we actually don't have a lot of overlap here. I would say Eric Cole is probably the one on both of our lists, but for me,
you're not buying what Doug Gim's picking up with his -10 putting last week.
No, because as good as the ball striking is, he is a -10 putter. That's just what he is. But yeah, for me, it would be Cole, Woodland, Hoffman, and a little Taylor Moore action.
Red State. Yeah.
You could also talk me into Nick Dunlap. I don't think I'll get there, but you could talk me into it.
What about, as Kyle says, Mark Messier? Great iron player. Kind of a
I don't understand him. Not Kyle. I understand Kyle. I don't understand what Mac Meissner is good at, because he's kind of good at everything, but
good iron player.
Yeah, but he's kind of pretty good at everything. But the approach can spike for sure. I just don't see the upside. I think there's a lot of really good options here. So,
Dave brought up Chuck Hoffman, who I really like in a vacuum. I think do you think Chuck gets a lot of steam this week? Because I think it makes a lot of sense on paper. Great course history.
I think so.
Great.
Yeah, I just think there's so many options here that it's not like anyone here is going to get to 20%. Stevens or Horschel might get to 16, 17, 18. But people will play Charlie Hoffman. Yes.
Okay, let's finish this off with Gummy plays, because I have one or two absolute bangers in the 6K range. This has been our bread and butter. 8K down is the moneymaker for us, RB. Give us some gummies in the 6K range real quick.
Yeah, so I'll start off with 2 honorable mentions, and then who I might actually use as my gummy. So Jake Knapp, I don't even know if that's a gummy. I think he's just a good play. The models still won't like him. He's coming back from a back injury. Well, so the last half of last year, he had a back injury, which really messed him up. But we played him at Torrey, played really well. He didn't finish great, but he played well. Played well all of last week. The finish was bad, but he was leading, obviously, but he was lurking for most of the week. And I think this is a golf course. He finished tied for 28th here last year with bad off the tee game. And we know that he is not a bad off the tee player. So he was honorable mention. And then in that same vein, Vincent Norman would be honorable mention. Also, Benton played him at Torrey, tied 40th, was a lead off the tee, was really good at Amex. I just think that they both have the upside here. In terms of true gummies, Ryan Fox, 69.
Okay. I was going to ask you about Frankie Saps too.
Yeah, I think people like him and are kind of onto him. I'm not quite as high, but Ryan Fox, has been a world-class player for a long time. He likes these sort of desert golf courses. Tied for 41st here last year, putted really well and gained on approach, which again, not necessarily who Ryan Fox is. So if he can actually chip well and drive it well, he was also coming back from something, and I wanted to see how he played in the Middle East. He had 2 starts, finished 10th at the Hero and then 27th at the Ras Al Khaimah, both of them with elite iron play. And again, that's a good sign for him. So he's at 6,900. And then the only other Gummy play for me is a guy who finished 6th out of nowhere at the Farmers. But I got a little tip that Hayden Springer is close. Don't think he's going to win. Don't think I'm mistaking that for a guy who's going to win. But if you're looking for a top 20, 25 at very low ownership, Hayden Springer at 6,400.
I like that a lot. I'm going to give you 2 bangers in the 6K range. KH Lee, 6.6K on a TPC course.
Lee.
He's finished second here in the past. He's actually not playing as bad this year as the results would suggest. My numbers really like him. Andy Putz. Andy Putz is 6.6. He's got a ton of approach upside. He's had a lot of success on these Poa Trivialis overseeded greens. Give me a little Andy Putz at 6.6. I think that's it. Matty Schmidt, looking at him.
Sure.
Had a cup of coffee there. Kevin, you, as Kyle likes to
always in play
every single
on
week.
These golf courses.
Yeah.
Not much there. Again, you're just sort of looking for anything with these guys in terms of, okay, they can pop off the tee or they can pop with this. One name that I was actually close to, I'm saving him for Mexico, but another guy coming back from injury, Will Gordon. So he finished 7th at Torrey after making the cut at Amex, which is his first made cut in a while. But he was coming back from an injury, went down to the Korn Ferry Tour for a few starts last year. Couldn't make a cut there either. But this is a guy who we've seen the talent. I think a lot of us still believe in the talent. And to see what he did at Torrey, I assume he's going to be in the Mexico field. There's been some good crossover there. So just make a little note that we're betting Will Gordon in Mexico in a couple of weeks.
Sweet. There are almost 1,000 live viewers of this show. If you do not want to join Inside Sports Network, which give your head a shake, that's where the real magic happens. If you want more of this info revved up to 1 million in the Discord channel, the articles, and access to people like me, Ryan, and many smart others at all hours of the day. If you don't want to join ISN, although if you really do love this info and want more of it, shoot me a tweet or a DM, and I'm always willing to work something out with you, especially if you're like active military or a student or a younger guy in college or something like that. We want it to be affordable for everyone. So shoot me a DM and we'll see if we can work something out. But if you even if you are watching right now, just a like on YouTube, a retweet on Twitter, a subscribe. We're butting up against 1,000 subscribers on YouTube in less than a month. Actually, now a full month of being active on YouTube. That would be sweet. I would love to see us hit 1,000 subscribers. Yeah. Andy at InsideSportsNetwork.com. Shoot me an email, Evan. I get like over 100 now DMs, personal messages between Monday and Wednesday. So I may not get back to you within 24 or 48 hours, but I will always get back to you within 4 to 7 business days. And yeah, drop us a like on YouTube, drop us a comment, post in the comment section your gummy play, your 6K gummy play for me this week. I think I'm probably leaning towards KH Lee. Pick one. Who's the gummy play for you, RB? Springer?
I put Ryan Fox in for now. So, okay. But yes, it'll be one of those two. Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, I think we're giving away a new tailor-made driver too per Joey, one of our co-founders. So, yeah, drop a comment on YouTube, give the show a like. That stuff really means more than you know as we continue to grow this burgeoning company that I've become so proud of, mainly because of the likes of people like RB, who has just been an absolute firecracker on the outrights. Any closing thoughts? Who's your winner?
Gosh.
Scotty?
I don't want to say Scotty.
Yeah.
No, I'll go with someone on the betting card. Maverick McNeely.
Love that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that Kirk Kitayama shocks the world in a 3-man playoff between Slam and Sammy Stevens, Scottie Scheffler, and Kitayama. And Kitayama makes an absurd birdie on the stupid finishing hole at TPC Scottsdale, which I think is like such a bad 18th hole for a really good golf course. But give me Kitayama, Slam and Stammy, and Scottie Scheffler, the exacta 1, 2, 3.
Love it.
Cheers, RP.
See you
next week. Later.